My brother stalked and assaulted my fiancé at our cousin's wedding, and my parents immediately leaped to his defense, just as they've done our entire lives. But now he's finally incarcerated for savagely beating his own wife, the second woman he subjected to such horrific violence. The exact moment my fiancé Isabella, 29F, stepped through the ornate arched entrance of the lavish estate where our annual family retreat was hosted, the grounds manicured to perfection, with rolling green lawns stretching toward a shimmering lake under the late afternoon sun that cast long shadows from the towering oak trees, and the air filled with the mingled fragrances of blooming jasmine vines climbing the stone walls and the distant smoke from a barbecue pit where chefs were grilling premium cuts of steak and fresh seafood. My brother Liam locked onto her with an unnerving focus that triggered every protective instinct in me, initiating a cascade of grossly inappropriate conduct that left her shifting uneasily in her flowing sapphire blue gown that she'd meticulously chosen to convey both elegance and approachability, the fabric swishing softly against her legs as she navigated the cobblestone path leading to the main pavilion. He essentially barreled past our grandmother Edith, her fragile frame nearly toppling in her embroidered silk shawl as she clutched her cane for balance amid the bustling crowd of relatives arriving in their Sunday best, all to position himself as the inaugural greeter, enveloping Isabella in a hug that extended far beyond social norms, his grip firm around her midsection in a way that made her pulse quicken with discomfort, persisting until she had to subtly but resolutely press her palms against his shoulders and create distance, her composed smile masking the flicker of alarm in her eyes as she glanced toward me through the throng of cousins and aunts exchanging air kisses and hearty handshakes. Throughout the sumptuous banquet that ensued, presented on long wooden tables draped in crisp white linens and adorned with elaborate floral arrangements bursting with roses and orchids in vibrant hues that complemented the sunset painting, the sky in shades of orange and pink, Liam relentlessly fabricated reasons to initiate tactile interactions with her, a feigned accidental graze along her wrist as he passed the ornate silver platter of artisanal cheeses and crackers, his fingertips lingering momentarily on her soft skin, or a purportedly light-hearted tap on her back while recounting an anecdote, his palm resting just a beat too long amid the symphony of laughter and the clinking of crystal stemware filled with vintage wines from our family's private cellar. He even forcefully inserted himself between us on multiple instances, his body odor mixed with expensive aftershave overwhelming the delicate bouquet of the Cabernet being poured by attentive servers, to claim the spot directly beside hers, situating himself so intimately that their arms brushed with every gesture, while he unleashed a barrage of contrived shared quips that elicited only polite nods from the table, considering they'd been strangers mere hours prior, his tone carrying over the gentle hum of background conversations and the soft strumming of a live harpist positioned in the corner. The night culminated in an excruciating apex during the indulgent dessert presentation, featuring an assortment of gourmet confections such as velvety tiramisu layered with espresso-soaked ladyfingers, zesty lemon meringue pies with torched tops that crackled under the fork, and rich molten lava cakes oozing warm chocolate centers garnished with fresh mint leaves and powdered sugar dustings. When Liam, with a spoon scooped from his own serving, endeavored to feed Isabella a portion straight from it, inclining forward with a gaze so penetrating it bordered on invasive, his eyes fixed on hers as if issuing a silent command, the ambient glow from the string lights overhead illuminating the unnatural fervor in his expression. Isabella, her face warming with a blend of mortification and unease that clashed with the subtle blush she'd applied earlier to enhance her natural glow, upheld her dignity impressively under the pressure. Given this, marked her premier engagement with my sprawling kinship, and she aimed to emanate poise and affability, perhaps excessively so upon reflection, as she delicately turned her head aside and whispered a gentle, "No, thank you," her words scarcely rising above the melodic notes of the harp and the rhythmic tapping of utensils on plates, exacerbating the distress. Liam commandeered the dialogue across the feast by exhuming heavily skewed recollections from our joint youth, contorting them with deliberate spite to cast me as some inept bungler or worse, narrating a wholly concocted account of how he had courageously mediated to liberate my sophomore year paramour from what he purported were my domineering and erratic demeanors, embellishing the yarn with theatrical halts and overstated motions, none of which aligned even remotely with actuality, as Isabella was intimately acquainted from the heartfelt disclosures we'd exchanged during serene twilight strolls along the beach, waves lapping at our feet while I bared my history over the salty sea breeze. Yet my parents merely reclined there, their countenances bathed in the tender radiance of the lantern-style fixtures suspended above, affirming with vigorous nods as though these distortions constituted unassailable verities transmitted across epochs, their sporadic insertions of "indeed, that's how it went," or mild snickers, accentuating his discourse and intensifying the burgeoning abyss of exasperation and disloyalty in my abdomen. The cutlery in my grasp growing ponderous with each elapsing instant following the banquet's conclusion, with the final vestiges of sweets whisked away by diligent personnel in starched uniforms and the essence of robust decaf lingering as invitees, commenced circulating for postprandial libations, dispensed from a bespoke cocktail station offering signature mixes like cranberry martinis garnished with sugared rims and hot toddies infused with cinnamon sticks. Isabella magnanimously proffered aid with the clearing, her empathetic disposition impelling her to amass dishes and collate discarded serviettes fashioned into elaborate origami, the faint tinkling of porcelain resonating in the now sparsening assembly. I was briefly occupied assisting our Uncle Harold in relocating some vintage wine crates in a secluded storeroom off the primary hall, the cork scent mingling with aged oak as we heaved the burden. When I abruptly discerned Isabella had vanished for an protracted duration, a persistent twinge of disquiet gnawing at my nape amid the subdued fragrance of polished leather from the room's furnishings, I pardoned myself precipitously and threaded through the assemblages of kin immersed in lively discourses, merely to unearth her ensnared in the expansive galley contiguous to the banquet area, its quartz worktops gleaming beneath the embedded illumination and the atmosphere dense with the lingering odors of seared herbs and baked confections, where Liam had tactically stationed himself to impede her egress to the corridor reverting to the chief zone, his commanding presence hurling an elongated umbra over her as he inclined excessively proximate, murmuring in a subdued, persistent timbre concerning how she warranted a consort proficient in delivering authentic exhilaration and fervor rather than acquiescing to his prosaic, capricious elder sibling, his palm reposing with intentional nonchalance on the brink of the basin adjacent to her flank, efficaciously confining her against the chilly metallic facade. Isabella had already resolutely solicited that he afford her room on 2 distinct occasions. By the juncture I erupted through the pivoting portals, her timbre stable but threaded with an undertone of strain that betrayed her escalating perturbation, and the surge of alleviation that inundated her visage upon detecting me was tangible, her carriage unwinding marginally as she expeditiously relocated to stand beside me, interlacing her digits with mine in a clasp that conveyed her persistent discomposure through a delicate quiver. Liam, perpetually the virtuoso of diversion, merely emitted a raucous guffaw that rang spurious in the reverberating expanse, thwacking me on the rear with what he purposed as fraternal camaraderie, but sensed more like a provocation, repudiating the whole episode as merely jesting, albeit the occurrence projected a protracted obscurity over the residue of the soiree, inciting us to tender our courteous adieus and abscond prematurely. The brisk nocturnal zephyr exterior, the locale a stark and gratifying antithesis to the asphyxiating milieu we'd withstood indoors. The constellations scintillating aloft as we ambled to the attendant post in muteness. Isabella and I had been in a realm of unadulterated relational euphoria for 12 months. Our alliance an exquisite mosaic fashioned from communal aspirations, reciprocal esteem, and ceaseless backing that sensed like the cosmos had ultimately synchronized in our behalf, until Liam's intensifying fixation dismantled it all like a tenuous filament yanked too vigorously on a delicate knit. To furnish requisite context, we were nurtured in a prosperous domicile nestled in a scenic mountainous enclave in Colorado, where our parents administered a flourishing chain of luxury ski lodges that engendered considerable revenue, permitting opulent excursions to European Alps and inscription in prestigious boarding academies. But their accentuation was eternally on sustaining an immaculate communal persona, orchestrating extravagant gala fundraisers with live orchestras and celebrity endorsements, rather than cultivating authentic sentimental ties within the familial nucleus. Liam materialized when I was 6, instantaneously commandeering the limelight as the proverbial aureate progeny. No transgression was adjudged grave enough to merit censure, with every delinquency commodiously rerouted to me as the expedient patsy in their chronicle of domestic accord. His disconcerting patterns surfaced premature and endured unaddressed, with our parents volitionally diverting their gaze. At 10, he purposefully vandalized my snowboard by carving gashes into the base because I declined to loan it, the fiberglass splintering under his knife. They lauded his assertiveness and rebuked me for not exhibiting more altruism. 14. 2013, he inadvertently erased my complete portfolio for art school applications from the family server, alleging a glitch. They disregarded it as technological mishap and recommended I acquire superior archival practices. In our adolescent phase, he anonymously dispatched defamatory letters to my initial earnest paramour's guardians regarding invented gambling dependencies on my part, precipitating a compelled dissolution. Our parents extolled his solicitude for her welfare and indicted me of hyperbolizing fraternal guardianship into maturity. At 28, he still inhabits the expansive family chalet with its panoramic vistas and private sauna, collaborating at the lodge conglomerate. Translation: extracting a stipend whilst indulging in impetuous pursuits financed by parental indulgence. He's methodically demolished my prior amorous ventures with computed exactitude. For one, he anonymously dispatched compromising correspondences, forged, naturally, to her vocation, intimating disloyalty. For another, he disseminated whispers of fiscal volatility, asserting I'd accumulated clandestine obligations. Our parents invariably aligned with him, designating my grievances as envious hyperboles or incapacity to esteem sibling affection. When I chanced upon Isabella at a regional wildlife conservation symposium, her podium advocating for endangered species preservation, with compelling slides of majestic eagles soaring over rugged peaks and petitions circulating among the audience, she was a gust of revitalizing air, a wildlife biologist specializing in avian migration patterns, her zeal contagious as we connected over mutual apprehensions about habitat loss during a networking break, her eyes gleaming with acumen under the conference hall's bright spotlights. We advanced from informal trail hikes through lush forests, the crunch of leaves underfoot as we exchanged anecdotes, to a profound, dedicated partnership erected on confidence and reciprocal veneration. I revealed my family's dysfunctional mechanics prematurely, intending to armor her from prospective repercussions. She, perpetually the optimist with her vessel half-replete outlook that I venerate, urged the presentation, proposing maturity might have tempered them. Her unswerving credence in individuals' potential for evolution is one of the multitude attributes that attracted me to her irrevocably. I orchestrated what I anticipated would be a subdued lakeside luncheon last month. That unwitting resolution unleashed the deluge. Mere days ensuing, Isabella's smartphone became a conduit to persecution. Unidentified dials featuring labored respiration or abrupt terminations evolved into virulent communications branding her as haughty for rebuffing a preeminent contender, incorporating chilling particulars about her fieldwork timetables and diurnal garb, unequivocal attestation of oversight that invaded her sense of surety. She endeavored to diminish the occurrences at first, ascribing them to arbitrary jests, but I identified the craftsmanship of Liam's lingering secondary school entourage, a cadre of sycophants he subsidizes with allowances from the family enterprise, their fidelity procured with prodigal bestowals and escapades. Despite unremitting obstruction, the persecutors proliferated via disposable numerals. Then, his accomplices permeated her conservation center, posing as volunteers or loitering in reception zones under spurious pretexts, their stares drilling into her during critical assemblies with associates or whilst executing analyses in her lab attire, muttering insinuations just perceptible enough to discompose. Acting superior, eh? The zenith of dread unfolded last week when one shadowed her to her rugged jeep after a arduous twilight shift documenting nocturnal wildlife. The parking area dimly illuminated by flickering mercury vapor lamps that cast elongated, ominous umbras. She barricaded herself within, engine rumbling but immobilized by terror, dialing me in hysterics as her voice fractured over the line. I arrived in a frenzy, escorting her vehicle home with a trusted comrade following in his pickup for protection, our headlights slicing through the obscurity like beacons of safety amid the encroaching dread. Isabella's anxiety paroxysms intensified in the prelude to her assignments, her once vibrant demeanor dulled by perpetual vigilance, repasts forsaken due to a stomach knotted with apprehension, her frame visibly attenuating under the relentless pressure. We meticulously compiled substantiation from facility surveillance, capturing the intruders' visages, preserved the menacing voicemails with their distorted voices, and screenshot the barrage of threatening texts. Armed with this dossier, I confronted Liam at our parents' stately colonial home, the manicured lawns and blooming rose bushes belying the turmoil within. He reclined on the antique chaise lounge in the sunroom, a smug grin spreading across his face as I laid out the proof. No idea what you're on about, bro. Perhaps she's the sort who invites drama. The provocation ignited my fury. My fist connected with his jaw, a satisfying thud echoing as his head snapped back, a trickle of blood from his split lip staining his shirt collar. He let out a theatrical wail, summoning our parents, who burst in from the adjoining kitchen, the scent of fresh-baked cookies clashing with the tension. Mother immediately fussed over her poor boy, dabbing at his injury with a monogrammed handkerchief, while father thundered accusations of long-standing jealousy and demanded I seek psychiatric intervention for my uncontrolled aggression. They flatly refused to examine the evidence I thrust forward, their eyes glazing over the printed screenshots and transcribed calls, instead escorting me out with stern warnings to get my act together or face permanent estrangement. I composed this account from Isabella's modern loft apartment, overlooking the bustling city streets below, where I've sought refuge amid her comforting presence. Her steady breathing from the bedroom a reminder of what's at stake after hours of her tear-streaked confessions. She's dreading the impending shift, her supervisor noting the visible strain, the disruption seeping into her professional life. She cherishes her role, the fulfillment derived from aiding in wildlife preservation projects that could safeguard ecosystems for generations. And the thought of forfeiting that to my deranged siblings' machinations is unbearable. Our parents perpetuate his entitlement. Law enforcement demands conclusive connections to Liam himself. We've been documenting assiduously, but I'm at the precipice. How to fortify her defenses. Sever ties with my bloodline? Any insights? Update 1. Immense thanks for the torrent of feedback. It illuminated the crisis's depth. Isabella and I cataloged every iota, pursued legal avenues. Regrettably, the ensuing fortnight has been a conflagration. Law enforcement, exhaustive assembly of communications, audio captures, surveillance clips, colleagues' sworn statements. The initial officer appeared invested, particularly in the occupational intrusion, but upon mentioning Tyler, Liam's inseparable ally, progeny of a precinct lieutenant, the demeanor pivoted sharply. Lacking explicit Liam orchestration, potentially misconstrued camaraderie, he insinuated Isabella might have fostered the advances. We requested a female investigator. They evaded. Ultimately, cautions to identifiable figures. That's the extent. Absent explicit perils. A farce. Familial retort even more abysmal. Liam parades with a fresh contusion, unattributed to me, concocts a renewed assault narrative. Mother dials in hysterics, demolishing his prospects over frivolities. Father vows disinheritance. Amusing, as I'm autonomously established in biotechnology, termination from the seafood empire, his domain, Liam's haunt. It underscores their conflation of our identities, the catastrophe. Mother pleads for a reconciliatory supper, assuring Liam's contrite. We acquiesce. Upon arrival, ensnarement, parents, Liam, pro-Liam aunt and uncle, Tyler plus cohorts. Mediation, vivisects Isabella, covetous of Liam's charisma and accomplishments. What feats? Enticed, then inverted. Professional burnout-inducing paranoia. Aunt proposes psychotherapy for her melodramatic inclinations. Liam enacts sorrow. Aspired for a sibling-in-law. Tyler recounts her ensembles. Stalking verification. Parents reframe as attiring for admiration. Isabella rebuts, presents substantiation, shouted down, invalidated. Tyler integrates for sweets as gentlemen exemplars. Isabella hyperventilates, departs, eye trail. Mother seizes us or her, mute thereafter. Thugs intensify. Facility tittle-tattle, she's volatile. Fabrication specialist. Superior convenes, compassionate yet commotion-impairing efficacy. Relocation? Isabella scouts positions 320 miles remote. Associates facilitation. Detest capitulating, but her pre-duty sobs. Anxiety-suppressed sustenance. Devastates me. Counsel on safeguards. Protracted. Kin fantasizing. Badges ineffectual. Liam prevails. How counter when Cosmos discredits you, exalts your tormentor. Update 2. Aspired for elevation, but relative Mia's nuptials metamorphosed to pandemonium. Liam manacled, kin sundered. Mia's perpetually discerned Liam's veneer. Adolescence, he scorched her diary. She denounced. Parents labeled her mendacious. She's confederate, juridical deposition on his malign chronicle. Summons reached. Circumspect, but Mia pledged sentinels. Segregated placements. Presumed multitude inhibits. Fallacious, right unmarred. Liam conducting. Jubilee. Preliminary serenity till Isabella lavatory. Quarter hour elapse. Liam evaporates. Intuition blares. Hasten. Her outcry resounds. Veer corridor. Maya's consort. Logan plus. Sib rest Liam from Isabella. Immobilized versus ornate tapestry. Attire rent at hem. Extremities mottled indigo. His inebriated you yearn this amid her flail. Logan's Sib, constable distant, summons vicinity enforcers. Logan ushers Isabella to antechamber, Maya assuaging her convulsions. Kin paroxysm. Mother ululates misapprehension. Isabella provoked. Preserve his destiny. Father impedes fetters. Domestic concern. Liam vacillates. Laments to vitriol. Retribution imminent. Spectators document turmoil. Constables escort him, vociferating. She solicited from inception. Sequelae noxious. Kin mobilize. Warp. Isabella enticed, then indicted. Logan battered him. Deception. Auto-contusions. Yet matrimonial cinematography ensnares Liam pursuing her. Ecchymoses, beholders, eruption recordings, counsel's bounty. Kin proffer narratives of his jubilee ogles. Kin menace disownment, absent retracted indictments. Incessant reproaches, intimidations. Manifested at our domicile. Commotion prompting vicinity alert. Mother incarcerating her progeny. Father, annihilate your livelihood. Isabella secures distant vocation. Telecommute, absconding, ne renaissance. Mia conveys fundamentals. Tormented kin oblivious post-violation, adolescent rectification, overdue. Imperative, bulwark Isabella, erect afar from their venom. Update 3. Unanticipated revision, yet Yestereve's mother communication. Maniacal, corroborating, yet dolorous. Concisus, espoused Isabella 5 annums prior, intimate amongst Maya's cohort plus hers. Abode in novel metropolis. She's adolescent psych overseer. I'm program overseer, contemplating enterprise. Offspring Liam 4. Effulgent, Sib imminent. Mother. Liam wedded Kara biennium ago, precipitates sanctuary, covert from us. Utopian till Kara absence labor. Scrutiny, pulverized mandible, fissured ulna, corpus, variegated hematomas. Scrutiny. Father's veiled epochs. Coerces her lineage through eatery clout, defames her deranged to hers. Echoing Isabella stratagem. Ultimate pummeling over her elevation, self-reliance catalyst. Father, glaciate, covenants endure. Colleague signaled authorities. Pair detained. Liam aggression. Father obstruction, shot coalition. Mother's entreating repatriation. Lineage exigency. I detonate. You nurtured perpetually. Diary. Goldfish. Isabella. Where's responsibility? She dissolves. Cognizant yet safeguarded. Dilatory. Impede. Mia expounds. Kara with kin trans state. Psychotherapy. Dissolving. Prosecuting. Ex's surface maltreatment sagas. Inquiries broaden. Lineage dichotomizes. Juveniles U.S. Kara. Seniors rationalize. Aunt's curative syndicate dissects ancestral facilitators. May conduit Kara through Maya. Fellowship. Her lineage. Comprehensive contrition manifests. Sever mine. DV. Promulgation. Frigid to lineage. Fostering proliferates casualties. Prospects forfeited. Maneuver repercussions unaccompanied. My duty. Preserve Isabella Liam impending. Tranquility supertoxin. Update 4. Solicitations inundating revisions. Here's semester synopsis. Us magnificent. Liam's loquacious. Isabella radiates gravid. Residence reverberates kin merriment. Mia sojourned. Liam's aunt alliance. Liam. Bargain to battery. 14 cycles. Liberation post 9. Father's negotiation. Eatery annulled. Confederates absconded. Majority kindred repudiate him. Mother's counseling incited schism. Litigating father. 20 folio remorse epistle. Concedes nurturing. Overlooking me. Isabella abominations. Retort pending. Esteem yet postponed. Perchance supervised Liam intros eventual. Deliberating Kara. Prospering consultations. Occupation steadfast. Interface through Mia. Chronicles restore. Her lineage. Comprehensive succor. Disinherit mine. DV advancement. Wider. Curative assembly. Unravels epoch's negligences. Us. Progression. Isabella's superintendent elevation. My advisory commencement. Dissent terminates herein. Liam encompasses wholesome affiliations. Perimeters resolute. Dissevering poison's wounds, yet optimal for progeny. Existence intricate. Ours. Marred yet robust. Adequate.